हेलो देयर फ्रेंड्स, आज का वीडियो होगा एक कंपैरिजन वीडियो बिटवीन द टू डिवाइसेस दैट इज द मैकबुक एंड द मैक मिनी. So you're probably looking to buy one of these devices and you're still confused at what lies on the other side. Or you're buying one of these videos and checking what could be the other options. Let's continue with this topic. So जब भी एक लैपटॉप या फिर कंप्यूटर खरीदते हो, you look at some constraints. You lay down the constraints and then look at each constraint individually that whether they align with your choices or not. So I have made your work easier by noting some of the major constraints such as features, uses, portability, and lastly the most important, price and the resale value. Before we move on to further topics, let's discuss what is Mac Mini exactly. Discussing what MacBook is really out of relevance for this video because it is just a laptop. Whereas Mac Mini is a CPU that requires a small space of 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters on your desk. It is just congruent to a CPU that you would previously be using. Just so that you are informed, remember that there are three variations of the same Mac Mini. The base variant of the Mac Mini is a 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 8GB RAM, 256 SSD storage with a built-in M2 chip. That is the latest chip you would find in the MacBook Air 2. The Mac Mini with exact same specifications but with a higher SSD storage, that is the 512GB of SSD storage, is the another variant you would find. And then comes the last variant that has the M2 Pro chip with the 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU, 16GB RAM and 512 SSD storage. Now please note that this is just congruent to a CPU and has no peripherals attached or included in it. You have to buy them separately. Peripheral devices such as mic, keyboard, displays would work seamlessly smooth if they are bought from Apple, but would work just fine if they are not from Apple, just like any other Windows device. So with that said, let's discuss the first constraint, that is the features. The features of both devices are as follows. The left side of the table will show you the features of Mac Mini M2 chip and the right side of the column will show you the features of MacBook Air M2 chip. For the sake of best possible comparison, let's consider the baseline products. So the Mac Mini of the baseline version will have 8GB RAM, 256GB storage, 8-core CPU and a 10-core GPU. Apart from that, you will get a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi of the latest versions. Whereas the baseline MacBook Air will have the same features, that is the 8GB RAM, 256GB of SSD storage, 8-core CPU but only 8-core GPU, that is 2 less than what Mac Mini had. So the features are more or less the same, but the only difference that will be created over here is about the price. The price difference comparison is included in the later part of this video. If you want, you can skip to that part. But before that, I want to discuss what about the uses of these devices. What uses these devices will cater depends on how you use your computer. If you are a person who generally uses his computers to check mails, write mails, make Excel sheets, go for a documentation work, maybe create a presentation or two, edit some videos on a domestic scale, not more than that, you would prefer to go with a MacBook Air. Continuing with a MacBook Air would be a wise choice because it does not need any peripherals. It is just ready. Pick up, open and start using it. It is highly portable, does not need any external power supply until and unless you are charging it. Could be used for your office work, business work very easily. But you don't have a MacBook Air, you are still looking to buy a device, then what would you do? Would you make a choice with consideration to Mac Mini? We will discuss that in the last part of this video. But for now, Mac Mini will be useful for the people, those who want to do a graphic intensive work, not too high, not too low, and also have the peripheral devices ready with themselves. I'll make this point even clearer when we discuss the price, resale value and the decisions part of this video. So for now, let's move on to the prices at which these devices are selling off. So let's come to the most important part, that is the price of the devices. We will be discussing all the possible prices that you can buy these MacBooks on, including the offers, discounts or the prices available in another country. So let's start with the Mac Mini M2 chip, the baseline variant. The original price for the Mac Mini is 60,000 rupees on the Apple's website. But since Apple is running an offer on Mac Mini, you can buy it for 10,000 rupees less, that is 50,000 rupees. And you will also get an AirPods on that. But does that end here? No, not at all. You still have the peripheral devices yet to buy. If you are looking for display available on the Apple's website, which will cost you only 1,60,000 rupees, the price comparison won't make any sense in this video. So let's consider that you are buying all the peripheral devices including mouse, keyboard and a display that has mic and camera phone inbuilt. they will all add up to an amount of 35 to 40,000 rupees straight, which makes your amount go from 50,000 to 80,000 rupees. But remember, you are getting an airport free with that, considering that you are eligible and buying it in an offer. So that was it about Mac Mini. Now moving on to the prices of MacBook. I've already made a video on how to buy the MacBook at the cheapest possible price by personally speaking to a Mac specialist, and that was basically what last video was about. You can check that out later. But for now, let's consider the original prices of the MacBook. If you are buying it in a student discount, you will get the MacBook for 1,25,000 rupees with a free AirPod. And if you are a student who is buying it from a US with an eligible university for the discount, then you are going to start dancing by the end of this video, because the prices at which you bought the MacBook Air was around 60,000 rupees, if you follow the steps I showed in the last video. So all in all, you have seen the price difference between both the devices. The Mac Mini is available in 80,000 rupees with the peripherals, and the MacBook will be available to you in 1,25,000 rupees. Now, by looking at these figures, you must be thinking that it is a wise decision to buy a Mac Mini for sure. Probably yes, but look at that, you don't have the peripherals that belong to Apple. And the devices that don't belong to Apple have a history of not working properly with the Apple devices. For example, when you are scrolling with a non-Apple mouse, you are going to see a jittery and a lagging effect, not the smooth and the buttery effect that you get to see with the Magic Mouse. Similarly, the keyboard shortcuts work fluently with a Magic Keyboard, whereas they don't with the regular keyboard. Whereas on the other hand, you look at the MacBook, you have the display that is built by Apple, you have the keyboard that is built by Apple, you have the trackpad that is built by Apple, that works seamlessly with each other in a symphony that gives the user an experience of an Apple device. That is the reason you are paying extra for a MacBook. But is that it? Is that the maximum value you can get from the Apple device? I think there is something more that these devices can offer. That is the resale value. Now moving on to the resale value. There are various websites available where you can schedule a resale for your device. Similarly, these are the places where I check the resale value for my devices, and they are the best possible places to sell your device as they give you the highest possible price. So according to this website, the resale value for the baseline M2 Mac Mini will be around 22,000 rupees. Let's consider it to be 20,000 rupees. And as we know that you bought the Mac M2 Mini in 80,000 rupees with peripherals, which further in 2 to 3 years from now will sell off in 15,000 to 20,000 rupees of range. So you are actually using the Mac M2 Mini for a net value of 60 to 65,000 rupees. And on the other hand, you bought a MacBook for 1,25,000 rupees in the discount. And I assume that you will be selling off your MacBook after 2 to 3 years of time, which will cost you around 45 to 50,000 rupees of resale value. So you are actually using the MacBook for a net value of 75,000 rupees. And if you are a student with eligible university who had bought the MacBook in discount, has bought the MacBook in about 60,000 rupees and sold it off in around 45,000 rupees, you have used the MacBook in only 15,000 rupees. Now you can start dancing. So that is it about the resale values these devices had to offer. Now after presenting so many information to you, we finally come back to the question that it is either a MacBook or a Mac Mini. My would be to buy a MacBook instead of a Mac Mini, because it does not need any extra peripherals, it is highly portable, it also has a better resale value compared to the Mac Mini. You will be paying somewhat extra amount of money, but that money would be worth it rather than saving some money by buying a Mac Mini. So do you even get a question that why was Mac Mini even made? Like, because it is almost equivalent to what a MacBook is, but at a cheaper price. It requires extra devices. So what is the point of even making a Mac Mini? So the answer to that is a person who wants to build a PC setup, as ideally a CPU would have a large number of input-output ports available so that you can connect even more number of external devices. So that is where a user would choose to become a Mac Mini user. Moreover, by doing that, he is entering the Mac world, he is entering the Apple ecosystem at a cheaper rate than a MacBook. But he is also compromising on the resale value and the portability. Introducing Mac Mini in a market would make it favorable for the Windows user to switch to a Mac setup conveniently and almost instantaneously. Just detach the CPU that contains the Windows software and replace it with a Mac Mini, and you have the entire Mac setup to go with. That's like upgrading from a Windows software to the Apple software in a snap's time. So yeah, that was it about the comparison video of both the devices. Thank you. See you in the next one.